Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
There.
We are live. It's Tuesday night, time for another live Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin. As always, I'm joined by Tony has 9 fingers.
What is going on, people?
And Angel from That Strange Show.
What's up?
And Angel,
Huh?
I don't know why I'm just asking you to introduce our very special guest. I'm going to do it anyways. Would you like to introduce our very special guest?
Yes, we have Patrick Rea.
Ray.
Patrick Rea, director, writer, producer of multiple short films and features and everything. You've got a lot of stuff out there. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Yes. So, you've been doing this for a while.
It's hard to realize. I graduated from the University of Kansas from film school in like 2002
Okay.
and decided not to rush out to Los Angeles. It was around that time where digital filmmaking was starting to kind of take its it was still in its infancy at that point. People were shooting on mini DV and stuff like that. But I just started making films in Lawrence, Kansas, actually, which is where the university is, and took a part-time job at a TV studio and just started making movies. And then eventually the TV studio decided to partner with me to make some short films. And so that's kind of how we got our start, because we were, around that time we were making short films and submitting them to festivals like the New York City Horror Film Festival, for one. That was kind of one of the first ones I screened at. And then at different conventions, like we were screening at like the Fangoria conventions and Cinema Wasteland and all those. And so it's kind of how we started out. And then we started making features in the area. And I didn't move to Kansas City till 2010 with my wife. And so I've been making, I would say 90% of my output has been made here in Kansas City. So,
Now, have you ever gotten the itch, like after all this time, to be like, oh, it'd be good to change up scenery a little bit?
not really. I think I have 2 kids now and a house, and it's like I've been able to make the my films that I want to make out here, and I mean, there's always that little bit of like, what would have happened had I moved to Los Angeles? But I don't dwell on that. There was a good amount of time where I was out there almost every other month, and taking meetings and stuff like that, and trying to get things going. And that was around the time we were making Nailbiter, which was an independent horror film that we made. It's currently on Tubi in the most popular horror category. So
There you go.
It came out in 2013. And Lionsgate released it, and it was in the red box. And then I don't know if you guys remember the channel Chiller.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was on that all the time. And then Chiller went away, and so I thought the movie kind of, it was still available on Apple TV and all that stuff. And then October, it magically appeared on Tubi and kind of has had a resurgence. So
That's pretty awesome.
which is like, I've been wanting to make a sequel to that movie for so long, and all of a sudden more people are asking about it. So
That's cool.
maybe I should finally do that.
Yeah, maybe. 'Cause that's the thing is Tubi reaches multiple countries now too. So like,
Right.
that's if it's in the most popular. I mean, and
Yeah.
I don't know, considering that Lionsgate released it, but I don't know if you get any kickback anymore from.
That's a complicated question.
All right.
I was going to ask.
That's a whole other podcast. But yeah, I mean, it's really, it's tricky. The distribution thing is not cut and dry, and there's a lot of it's not easy on the filmmaker for many.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah, we've
ask,
heard horror stories for sure.
and most of them are true. So, I mean, I can go and talk about the next movie I made was Arbor Demon, which has Fiona Dourif and Jake Busey, and that one I actually did shoot in South Carolina, and we wrote the script to be set in the Ozarks, which are about 2.5 hours from Kansas City, and it just didn't work out that way. We got investors, and they showed up, and they were in Charleston, South Carolina, so we had to rewrite the script, and shot the movie in 12 days in Charleston, South Carolina, and it had its premiere, and it was called Enclosure when we made it. Because it's set mostly inside of a tent, and they're like trapped inside of this tent, and it's very enclosed, so it's called Enclosure. Well, the distributor changed the title to Arbor Demon. So when it was released, and that was a situation where it was 2017, and video on demand was really popular, and like everything was alphabetized at that point. Nothing was like based on algorithms. It was all like A to Z, and of course, or if you put a hashtag in front of it or a number, it was top of the list. And they were like, well, A more money than like $100,000 more than E, so we have to come up with an A title for your movie. And I was like, all right, well, I sent them a bunch of suggestions, and they came up with Arbor Demon, and that's the one they went with. So that was just kind of an introduction to the reality of how important the title is for distribution, and marketing. So,
Yeah.
but I see the title popping up everywhere, so I'm kind of like on different streaming platforms. So they must have known something I didn't, but it was just one of those things where I just didn't like the title. I come from Nebraska, so which is home of Arbor Day. So like I was just like, please,
Yeah.
please,
Yeah,
God.
that's the first thing I would think of.
Yes, I know, and it's funny because there was an article like 2 weeks ago that was all over the place. I was reading, they were like talking about holiday horror movies, and for whatever reason they included my film, saying on Arbor Day you should watch Arbor Demon. I was like, all right,
You should. Has nothing to do with Arbor Day, but yeah, you
it
should
has
totally
zero
do
to
it.
do with Arbor Day, but it does have trees, so that at least
Yeah, I was gonna say there's trees in the background.
right, exactly.
So technically, yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
go
no,
wrong.
we shot that movie very quickly, and it was one of those things where, yeah, I mean, and Fiona was great to work with, and Jake Busey was great to work with, but it was very quick, and it was shot like the week leading up to Christmas, which in Charleston, South Carolina, you'd have no idea it's Christmas time because it's so warm. But it was tricky shooting because we were in the woods and the sun would go down at like 3 p.m.
Oh,
So
geez.
Yeah.
we ended up having to light scenes to make it look like daytime, which is like, it was night for day instead of day for night.
Yeah, backwards.
But that was the fastest turnaround I've ever had to work with up until that point. So it was a little bit of, because Nailbiter, it was like a 2 year. We shot it over 2 years. We literally ran out of money halfway through making it. And there's a moment in the movie where one of the actors just turns around, and it's the next year, but nobody has any idea watching it. We literally just stopped shooting, and I'm like, all right, we're out of money. We'll pick it up right where we left off, and it took a year, and like I was able to get the whole movie edited to that point.
Wow!
And then when the movie keeps going, and so nobody
ever that you cared enough.
The actors did not change their look, thank God, for a year. Like that was.
I was gonna say, like, watch Bad Taste, and like their hairstyles changed within the scene. Like how many times? Like.
Yeah. I'm gonna need you to keep that same look.
Yeah, right. That was.
I'm a championship mulletman. I'm gonna have a mullet, and then until I retire, which is also going to happen during the filming of this movie. Yeah. But yeah, it's amazing. Like, and the thing is too is like sometimes people they're like, oh, they won't notice. They won't notice.
Yeah, they
Everyone
won't.
notices.
They won't.
Well, it's like
especially Kevin. Yeah. Kevin notices like any like continuity problem. Wolfie, I think more.
Well, yeah.
He's like, wait a minute, that coffee was...
Well, no, he notices really obscure things. Like I noticed like things like that coffee cup, the handle's facing the wrong way. He's like, that car was made for 3 months in this year. And looking at where the sun is in the sky, it's obviously not that month.
Yeah,
and, like
there's too many leads.
We do our best. We do our best to keep the continuity going, but it's a challenge, and
it is.
And luckily, I mean, I'll be editing and I'll see something that I'm like, how did we miss that? But
happens.
You edit it quick enough, I mean, I like watching movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark or any where you catch like a continuity error, and you're like, oh, I didn't even see that. But it took me 100 times to watch that to see it,
or a mistake to pop up on a list of mistakes somewhere. You're like, I never saw this. No,
on the scene before, Indiana Jones' nipple wasn't hanging out.
It was weird because it was hanging out of the bottom of his pant leg. That's the weird part.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Indy. Tuck that shit in.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I saw it all over Instagram and stuff, and your Facebook, was Super Happy Fun Clown. Now, was a short, which I thought was really cool, because it was just a song going through the whole thing, which I was like, oh, man, this is something different.
Yeah.
But now you're making it or you already made it a full length?
Yes, we already made it a full length. It's actually I'm getting a new sound mix, I think, in a day or two, so we'll be seeing. But it's having its festival premiere in late March, April, and I'm not allowed to say what it is. I can tell you guys off the record, but they basically sent out an email today saying, please don't announce anything. So, so we shot the short film in 2023, and the writer, he sent me the script, and he's like, I wanted to write something that had no dialogue, as an exercise more than anything. And the idea, of course, is that it's this clown who's a female clown. She's out clowning and trying to entertain children, but when she comes home, her life is a mess. Her husband mistreats her, and then she finally snaps and kills her husband.
Yeah.
And his body just kind of stays in the kitchen rotting while she's out being a successful clown and being happy with her life and stuff like that. And eventually there's all these maggots all over him, and she eats some of the maggots, and it's just disgusting. But
yeah, that was pretty gross.
Yeah, and those are digital maggots, by the way.
I was going to say. There was some digital that was used in I Am Lisa.
Yeah.
And some digital that was in like if you're looking for it, you can tell it is what it is, but you have to be like, it was done very well.
Yeah, I don't like CGI. In fact, like for whatever reason, I'm a grouchy kid of the '80s, and so CGI just makes me upset. But I like practical effects, and in the case of I Am Lisa,
the exception of burning down a building.
Yeah, I can't actually burn the building down, so that's like one of the scenes that has some digital effects. I didn't want to go into a hokey werewolf either that was CGI, so we kind of kept it restrained because we just didn't have.
By the way, I thought it was very tasteful, like the way you you did it.
Thank you.
With like the lore where like, okay, this is what can happen.
Yeah.
Then once they're branded, this is what. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really liked it. I really liked
Thank you. We had a
the
great
work
time.
around
That
there.
was probably one of the most fun movie shoots I've ever had. It was like summer camp, and we shot in Missouri in the 100-degree weather, and that was it. So it's the opposite of the way it is at this present moment, which is right now it's like -7 before the wind chill. But yeah, so Kristen Vaganos was the lead actress in I Am Lisa. Now she's on General Hospital. I think that's one of the shows. Yeah, she's on General Hospital. So she's done very well. And the movie did very well. We're hoping to make a sequel, but it's one of those things where it all comes down to money. Always for making an independent film, it's always about raising the funds and all that. But with Super Happy Fun Clown, the short, we were lucky enough the short did very well, played at a lot of film festivals, and then the writer decided to expand it into a feature. And so
is there going to be more hot dogs?
Yes, he does throw a hot dog again. So yes, there will be more hot dogs. We had to recreate the short basically because we ended up recasting in the husband. We kept obviously Jen to play the clown, but the movie's a lot of fun. It's definitely going to be. I mean, there might be some people offended by some things in it. I kind of hope that's what happens. And obviously, it's not a gore fest like Terrifier. It's got some actual some psychological stuff going on with the character. She's being pushed around by her husband and her mother in the movie. Mm-hmm. So people will see her kind of taking abuse from multiple directions and then finally snapping and stuff. But I don't want to say too much, but I mean, we jumped from a 8-minute short film to a 90-minute movie, and we did it all in 2023 and some of it in 2024. So it's been in post-production, and my kid is sneaking around in the background.
Yeah, I was saying, you got a creepy crawly in the background there.
She thinks she's funny.
Well,
hey, you got ghosts, bro. You got ghosts.
I didn't even see a thing.
Okay, cool. I have 2 daughters, and they're both not shy. So just letting you know.
Love it. Okay. I got my kids. You'll probably hear them running around screaming.
I ain't got no kids.
But then I did a short film called Blood Sisters, which, funny enough, has my older daughter in it, and we shot that in August of 2024. That one has not jumped onto the festival circuit yet, so I've got projects that are currently in release, and then also kind of waiting in the hopper before they get released. So
I had questions about that.
I'm thankful because I could have nothing going on at this point.
That's one of the ones that I watched, and I had questions about that one. I was just like, well, I don't want to ask because I want people to make up their mind when they see it.
Okay.
I'll ask after the fact.
Yeah, and that's another
for a short that's only 5 minutes long. I have questions.
Yeah, that was one where because I direct my own scripts, but I also direct other people's scripts, and that was this thing where the writer approached me, I took it on, and got it made, and I think they raised some funds for it on GoFundMe, and we were able to make it in 2 days. And I'm used to working with really tight schedules. Like I Am Lisa was 14 days. I think actually Super Happy Fun Clown might be one of my longest shoots, and that was 16 or 17 days. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And then Enclosure, Arbor Demon was 12. And then I did a film called They Wait in the Dark, which also was shot in 12 days. So I'm used to this tight schedule where I don't have time to mess around.
What's They Wait in the Dark about?
It's a mom and her adopted son, and they're kind of on the run from her ex-girlfriend, and they hide out in a farmhouse in Kansas, and it gets weirder from there. So it did well. Right now we're in a situation, and this is, again, I can talk about distribution until my head explodes. The distributor for the movie is the same distributor that was part of Redbox and Chicken Soup for the Soul and Screen Media, and they went bankrupt last year. So every movie that was Screen Media and every movie with 1091 Pictures that you see on Crackle was part of the company.
Yeah.
All of that went into bankruptcy. So we just now got the rights back to the movie.
Okay.
And so we're going to be going to a new distributor to get it back on the platforms. But right now it's still on platforms like Amazon and stuff like that. So we're just trying to the trick is getting it off the platforms then and then getting it back on the platforms with the other distributor. It's just it's a nightmare, and it's just the reality of things. If you end up changing distributors, you got to take it off everything and make it disappear, and then it reappears.
Huh.
Because it's got the logo, it has to have the distributor logo at the beginning, and so they have to take off the old distributor. But it's a mess.
Yeah, so everything's got to get rebranded and repurposed.
Right.
So all the
It's one of those things where, like, if you buy a movie online and then it disappears, you're like, "What? I bought that, now it's gone." Like, there's a reason why.
Yeah. Usually it's a rights issue and stuff like that. But we put in our contract that if the distributor declares bankruptcy, we get the rights back. So right now we're in the process of doing that, because it was.
So is that like automatic, or do you have to put in like for them to release it?
What do you mean, like in terms of? Oh, well, there's nobody there anymore. That's the problem.
That's what I mean. So like, how does that?
Yeah, it's an echo chamber, like
screaming into the ether, like, "Can I get my shit back?"
Well, I have. Here's the thing that we're doing is that we've got our foreign distributor, and they're handling it just fine. And now they're going to be also handling U.S., so I don't have to really do anything.
Oh, good.
Other than we just have to get the movie off of platforms that it's currently on. And it's like, if trying to reach out to Amazon, it's like, who do you talk to?
That's why I say, hey, Jeff.
That's the tricky part. You have to keep kind of running around circles to get it off. But I mean, that's just a reality of independent filmmaking.
Well, yeah, that's a part that a lot of people don't like talk about.
Even
the business part of, like, okay, we made a movie, now business.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, and that's in itself is a whole nother daunting.
Yeah, it really is.
That's where producers and stuff come in, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, and I out of necessity, I'm always usually a producer on the movie.
Hey, that's me, Kevin.
And luckily I've developed relationships with film festivals over the years, and so they typically screen my work, and that usually gets the attention of distributors, and you always get inquiry emails from these distributors after the movie. If the movie premieres at Fright Fest in London, for instance, that's one of the ones that we've premiered at a couple times, and we usually get distributors emailing us and asking questions and wanting to see a screener and all that. So I always tell people, have a festival battle plan. Find festivals where distributors are looking for content, and have a really good lawyer to look over those contracts. Make sure that if you don't want them to change the title of your movie, put that in the contract specifically.
Hey, I've always thought about that, because like I've seen like it's blah blah blah, and then also known as like
we know.
Yeah,
I think you know the same person I do, Angel, a director that made a movie, like his first like feature length movie. He had the title like he had the logo that he created for the movie tattooed on his arm.
Wow!
And then it got picked up by a distributor, and then they changed the name of the movie.
Yeah, it's like, oh no,
I'm like, oh, that sucks.
He's like, well, now I have to change my tattoo.
No, he can't.
But it goes back to what you said, like for I guess a certain sense of visibility, and like, it rolls off the tongue better. Like,
I didn't think it rolled off the tongue better, but it was, it was up there in the A's, and that's what I heard.
No, because like it's true. If you are like, I've done it where I just hit like number one. Yeah. Or like hit, and then it's just like, you get 1313, 1313
hashtag.
Yeah. And it's like
I'm still a movie poster guy. Like, I'm still a guy that like impressed me with a cover.
Right. And I'll be honest with you, the Arbor Demon poster is amazing. It kicks ass.
I'm looking at it right now. The
I was
silhouette.
like, that's amazing, right? I mean, obviously, it said Enclosure before they just swapped out the title, but still, the poster they came up with was fantastic. And the Super Happy Fun Clown poster that we have right now, we designed. There are 3 different posters for I Am Lisa. There's the one that we did that was a little bit more. I think it's on Rotten Tomatoes as the poster. And then there was the one that was used for Redbox, which I think was my favorite. It was like white, and her face was on it, and
her eyes are yellow.
Yeah, and then there's the one that they put for the Walmart DVD and Blu-ray that I was like, eh. But these are the things that you just they pick certain colors that stick out on the shelves so that it's a psychological thing. People are more in tune to grab those DVDs with those colors. So Nailbiter was a thing where they changed the poster entirely, and it was red and it sticks out. Like if you look it up on Tubi, that's the poster that Lionsgate came up with. So
so you, just to go back to Nailbiter, since you brought it back up, so you said that it was you lost track of it for a little bit, and then now you saw that it's popping back up.
Right. It's a weird thing where the movie between 2013 and 2017, because that's when Chiller disappeared. I mean, it was playing regularly, and it also started on that, and I don't even know if anyone remembers it, FearNet.
Yeah.
FearNet was first, and FearNet was playing it because it was owned by Lionsgate. But then I can't remember if NBC Universal absorbed FearNet, and then all those movies went and got licensed for Chiller. Because then all of a sudden, the movies on Chiller, and they were doing like a live watch thing on Twitter, and so I chimed in, and it was a weird thing. And it was great because the movie got a lot of visibility, and then Chiller went away, and it was kind of like pretty silent, and they weren't putting it on any new platforms. They kept it on Vudu and Apple TV and the usual streaming platforms, but never for free. Like it's always been, a $4.99 or $5.99 or whatever. And then it was like October, and I thought I was hallucinating because I was just going through. And that's another thing; they'll never tell you when it shows up. You just have to discover it yourself. Have your movie like set in Google, and so then you can just kind of see if there's anything new going on with it. Terrible about telling you. And the movie was listed as a new release on Tubi, and then it just kind of has stayed in the most popular horror category for a while. So it's just bizarre. And then I got people messaging me asking me about a second one. So give me money. But it's going back to distributors. I had Arbor Demon was on Paramount Plus for like a couple of years, and they never told me. The only reason I knew is I happened to be skimming the movies on Paramount Plus, and I'm like, wait, there's and those are the things as a filmmaker you have to kind of keep your eye on because you just never know what's happening. They're never going to tell you.
Oh, so
crazy.
That is crazy. So that makes me like so. I just wow,
well, and the movie's not on Paramount Plus anymore because they don't use their horror movies, but it was on there for about 2 years. Yeah, and I think because we went with Gravitas Ventures, and so they picked up like a collection of movies and put them on Paramount Plus, and then they're on Fubo TV, and then they shuffle them around. It was on Hulu for a little while. It's made the rounds, but I've had to keep up with it myself. Like I always just have to check and see if it's.
So do you have to be like, hey man, I saw this on blah blah blah, and like what's been updated on the back end type of deal?
Yeah, I mean absolutely. You have to kind of chase it down. Now I Am Lisa. We've been managing to keep track pretty well. I mean the movie did very well, and so we've kept track with the money. And Arbor Demon gets a little bit more complex since there were so many producers involved with that movie.
Oh, okay.
But you just have to stay on them because you just never know what's going to happen. And
that's truly eye-opening for.
And it's one of those. It's just a reality of it, And so with Nailbiter, it was tricky because it's like we wanted to do a sequel right off the bat because the way the movie's set up, it kind of is a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And so. I got busy with other projects, and it kind of took me away from making a sequel. And also, it was just one of those things where working with our distributor, it was hard to prove how much money it was making. So if I go to an investor and say I want to make a sequel, and they say, "Oh, how much money did the first one make?" It's kind of hard for me to do that right now.
Yeah.
And so it becomes a thing where you're like, well, you have to try to. My idea right now is to make a sequel that is got its own story, but kind of connects to the first movie.
Yeah.
You know,
Like
it's kind of like it's its own thing because it's been so long since we made it.
Yeah.
But,
Wow, that's thanks for the insight on that, because I knew it was like a lot of red tape, but like I thought it was a little more clear cut than.
Literally, it's like
and people always say, "Well, when the movie's out, you're done." And I always tell people, "No, you're not, because you're following it. It's there for the rest of your life, and you have to kind of keep track of it. Because eventually, the contract expires, you get the rights back, or you renew with this particular distributor, and then you decide if you want to proceed with a different. That's why sometimes a movie gets released by this distributor, and then like 10 years later, it's re-released on this.
Yeah.
So
that's why
you're renewing, like you're just extending licensing.
Yeah, exactly. I've got, for example, on Screenbox, there's a TV series called Bloody Bites.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
all short films, and I've got 4 short films on that series, and so that's a situation where there's a licensing agreement. The licensing is non-exclusive, and then you renew at some certain point. So it's actually pretty cool.
That's cool.
You get your short film seen on a well-known streaming platform, but it's non-exclusive, which means that you can still stream it at other places and stuff like that.
That's cool.
And that's why I always tell people, a lot of my short films from like 15 years ago are still out there, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because I feel like I can't even look at them anymore because they were like so old. Like I didn't even have kids when I made those, And so I've licensed some of those out, and so they're on like different anthologies that you can see on Screenbox and all that. But my argument is, those movies, where do they go when you've kind of played them out?
Yeah.
Are they going to be on YouTube, or are you going to, so in my mind, I'm like, getting them out there is the smart thing to do. Otherwise, a lot of short films just kind of disappear.
Correct.
Into the ether.
Especially with the amount of stuff, like different platforms that there are.
Yeah. Right.
Put it on everything, and you'll get how many more eyes on it. So.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, I always say, I'll look at it and cringe, because we were like, oh my God, we weren't even shooting in 1920 by 1080. We were shooting at 720. It's like, people just don't realize cameras have advanced so much, and so. And
back then, you were like, "Look how crisp this is."
Right, I remember thinking,
you can see all the squares around your head.
Yeah, it's amazing. And
well, you said you graduated in when 2002.
Yeah, December.
Yeah. So like when I talk about, because I went to school for. TV and film production, and it was like the G5s with the wire, the Firewire, and the mini DVs. But it was around that time, so I graduated in 2000, I think 2002, 2003. But it was still around the same time where you were cutting tape.
Yep.
It was like that cusp.
Yeah.
So
we were still shooting on 16 millimeter in film.
Yeah.
And I think the last time I shot on 16 millimeter was in 2006, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready to just go strictly digital. But I mean, there's part of me that misses that a little bit, because we've advanced for a reason, I think.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's what I'd say. Like the entry, like the barrier now. For sure. Like you said, it's always money, like depending on the project. Yeah. But I feel like, with a free version of DaVinci Resolve, or, and decent cell phone camera, or even a 10-year-old camera, you know what I mean? Like you can get some work done. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that now people always like, what advice do you give filmmakers? And I'm kind of like, well, you don't really have an excuse now to not make something. And get something under your belt and grow. Yeah. I always tell people that they need to make movies with people they like working with.
Yeah.
And build your storytelling skills, because obviously the first couple movies you make aren't going to be great. You're not going to make The Godfather right off the bat.
I'm not.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, I don't know. But and so people.
No, it's legit, because it's been. I've been, just a little transparent. I've been trying to break into like think about how I'm gonna, because it's that life. I took a break from all that, but that's always been my passion. I've always wanted to make a movie, and like some sort of visual representation of like, some of the ideas in my head. And this year, Kevin, these guys have been championing me to get my shit together, and I've been getting gear and trying to get out there, even doing improv type shoots type stuff with but it's so like talking to people that have been doing it like you is just like like there's so much more still even today that are like that I'm gonna encounter
I mean, that's the thing is it's never ending, and that's I feel like I'm still learning. There's so much that I didn't learn in film school. Nobody taught me anything about distribution and what needs to happen, and having a good attorney and
that's like those memes where they say like teacher teach me how to do my taxes, and they're like no, like when you're in school it's like sir, but
give me some life skills.
Yeah but like it's true though, you know what I mean? Like it's just
and so much of it is perseverance. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if you want instant gratification, probably not the field for you, because it's so much of it just takes time. If you don't have a lot of money, you have a lot of time. In most cases, independent filmmakers don't have a lot of money to work with, so their movies take forever. It's not like Captain America 4 where they have the release date already ahead of, and anytime they have a problem, they just throw more money at it. You can't do that. You have to think about how to fix things creatively without money, and you have to have a finished script before you start shooting. I mean, if you're a Hollywood movie, you can kind of start winging it, but that's not the way you can do it with it.
What's all this blank middle? Oh well, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out.
A fight ensues. That's all it is. So I'm always telling people, have a good solid concept, have good audio, have work with really good people that you like working with, and grow as a team. I think and that's I've worked with a lot of the same people since 2005 maybe. So a lot of us stuck around and have been just working on projects and growing and trying to get better with each go around. And and it's funny because distributors aren't necessarily paying a lot of money up front anymore. It's not like the glory days where they're buying movies for $1 million and all that stuff. The budgets have had to go down.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit more affordable to shoot digitally now. But it's tough because you're like, well, a movie that would have normally cost $300,000 now you can do for $100,000. But then you're like, well, now we're not paying people enough money, not paying yourself enough money. I always tell people, if you're directing an indie film, pay yourself. You have to. You're the one who's going to be sticking with it to the very end. And whenever we wrap a movie, if I'm editing the movie after we wrap, everybody's at the wrap party celebrating, and I'm like, I have like another year at least with this movie. And
look at all this raw data.
Yeah, right. And I got to pull it through over the finish line. So that's
like you guys will be texting me in 2 days asking, when can I see the final cut?
Yeah, exactly. When can I see something from my reel? And you're like,
yeah.
Not yet. But yeah, no, and it is tricky because you just have to pace yourself. And I'm normally doing multiple projects at once. Like right now, like today, I was working on 3 different projects at one time, and I was like the stepfather in the movie The Stepfather, where he stops and says, "Now, who am I now?" Because that's what I thought. What project am I working on right now? And so, but I think that's the way you can make a living doing it is to not, don't put your eggs in one basket. Always have other projects looming so that that if one thing, because shit falls apart all the time. That's just the thing. It's like, it's so easy for a project, even a week out, to just kind of fall apart. Investor might decide to pull money, so you always have to be thinking in your head, okay, well, what other lily pad can I jump to,
Yeah, we heard the horror stories with that too, just like, couple days before the movie was taped and it disappeared or so. Like we've heard it, and that's a thing, like, as what most people don't realize is indie films, so much different goes on, and then people wear multiple hats in that because the big budget, they have teams of everything. But with indie film, it's like I am the director, the editor, the writer, the this, the actor. Like I do 15 things on the movie, and it's just like, that's why I give indie film so much more credit than anything else, because it's just like, especially if people pull it off.
Yeah.
And it's just like, because
it's a miracle. And it's one of those things where if the movie gets released in a good way and it gets on a really good streaming platforms like Peacock or whatever, it's a miracle, because you're like, oh my God, this thing started as nothing. And then we got it all the way through all of those hurdles to get to that, and it really relies on so many people, and it's so collaborative, and everybody's got to put in their time. And ultimately, obviously, the director and the writer love it more than anybody, but everybody's putting their time and energy into this thing. Yeah. And you have to be able to, I always tell people, treat other people with respect. Don't yell and scream. And I see that happen sometimes, and it's like the filmmaker ends up making one movie because nobody wants to work with them again. Mm-hmm. Unless it becomes like The Terminator or something like that, then people keep coming back to the same director, and they're like, I'll deal with the issues, but that's 99% of the time that's not how it works. People get mistreated, and then they just don't come back for the second movie, and
yeah, they're like, all right, you son of a bitch, I'll finish this,
right.
But you'll never see me again.
Life is too short.
Rest assured, unless this becomes extremely successful, you'll never see this again.
Yeah, but he's a jerk, but he's a genius. He's a genius.
He's like the color jerkness.
And now that in today's world, it's like if you treat people like crap, everybody hears about it.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're on the internet, quick stat, coffee.
Right, and Kansas
filming you be a jerk.
Be careful in a small film community because word gets out, and so just
no, I've seen that, and that's the thing. Like you said, to go back, like it all goes, like you said a little bit ago about finding a team that you can grow with, and like people that you can trust and know, like they'll go to bat for you, and like you just have to like. I'm sure with your group, like you're just like, hey, I need you to lock in with me, and they're like, understood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's from years of working with the same people. It's almost like you kind of have everybody has their psychic energy going, and everybody kind of finishes each other's sentences, and so that's kind of a good place to be. But that takes a long time.
Yeah, I've seen, like you said, we've talked to other people that operate in that realm, and I feel like that's like the general consensus are like the way for like some certain independent productions to be a little successful than others is that they're working like with like a rock star team that like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we were out there freezing our dicks off, but we got it done because everybody understood like at the end of the day, like what we're working towards.
Sure. And they know that it's going to turn out good, and it's going to get a distribution deal and be seen and stuff like that. So people want to work with teams that are fun to work with but get the job done. I think that you can do that. Like there's always this false idea of if we create chaos and everyone's miserable, the movie's going to be a masterpiece. And I'm like, that again is like it's a roll of the dice.
It's like I can feel the anger and anxiety during that scene. I could feel it.
How did you get it done? Well, I was actually angry and upset in that scene, so that's how I got it done so easily. So, Kevin, do we have any trailers or anything? I don't know if you had any.
I don't, but Sergio's asked.
Sergio, what's up, Sergio? Welcome to the show.
No, Serge said, "Hey guys," a while back. And then he asked if we had a trailer. I didn't pull any trailers. A lot of the stuff is out there. I mean,
look it up.
Yeah, there's go to Patrick Rea's IMDb.
Yeah, Nailbiter is on Tubi, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and Vudu. Arbor Demon is on like the same platforms. I think it's on some free stuff too, and it's on Fubo TV and all that. And then I Am Lisa's on Peacock and Screenbox. And They Wait in the Dark is on several platforms. You just have to Google them, and again, They Wait in the Dark might disappear for a month before it gets rebranded. So try to either wait for that or catch it now before it disappears.
I was going to ask in the short, I'm forgetting the name of the clown short.
Super Happy.
Super Happy Fun Clown.
And in the short, when she's in front of the theater,
the marquee
over and over again.
Yeah,
that marquee is the same marquee that's in I Am Lisa.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is Screenland in Kansas City, where they have the film festival Panic Fest.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was funny because we digitally changed the marquee for the short because it said Super Mario Brothers, and I was like, we can't have her in front of marquees that said Super Mario Brothers. So we used, the various movie titles of some of the movies we've made in the background.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell that it was digitally changed.
Yeah, no, that's again, those are the kind of digital effects I like.
Hashtag computer people.
Well, that's the thing with with Super Happy Fun Clown. There's stuff like there's a water tower in the background, and I'm like, we need to take the name of that town off of it, and we made up a town name and had it digitally put on the water tower. Nobody's gonna ever know, you know, but we know, obviously.
I just happened to because I saw the marquee from one angle in I Am Lisa, and I'm like, I wonder if that's the same marquee.
It's
I'm
the
like, it's
theater,
gotta be the same
and that
marquee.
theater is like 12 minutes from my house, so that's just,
okay.
It was, that was the thing with I Am Lisa, because we had a very, very short shooting schedule. I had to come up with locations that were fairly close to where I lived, and they were fairly close to each other, so that we could jump from one location to the next and move pretty quickly. Because for an indie film, that movie has a lot of locations.
It does, yeah.
It's not a one location horror movie. So when I got the locations list and started putting it together, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to get really creative here. So the park where the deputy dies is like a couple blocks from the movie theater, and then the movie theater is literally a block over from the bookstore that she works in. Literally, we could walk to all those locations, and because if you spread them out in the city, you're like, well, that's gonna, with traffic, that company move could take 45 minutes to an hour, and you start falling behind schedule.
With that, you're like, all right, pick up Cam A and let's walk over, get going.
When you're doing an indie film, you don't want to overwork people. I know there's this tendency to say, oh, let's work 17 hours, and I'm like, no,
fuck that.
I don't like going, generally 12 is kind of the cutoff for everybody. I'm 45 and I have kids. I don't want to be out there for 17 hours.
Look at this youngin'.
Shout out to the 40 Club.
Yeah.
I'm almost 50.
I'm 42, so we're good.
Did you guys happen to check out the short film Icebox?
I did. Okay. I did, yes.
I didn't get a chance to.
That one is it's playing at the Omaha Film Festival in a couple weeks.
Oh, nice.
And that was actually shot in December of 2023. And what's hilarious about it is that we needed it to be cold. And it was in the 50s.
Really?
Yeah, it was a week before Christmas Eve. And we're like, oh, certainly it's going to be cold, right? Yeah. And it wasn't. So that's just the way things work out in Kansas City.
You figure.
The weather.
Did you get to see it, Tony?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
That's the one where he's in the trunk.
Yes, yep. Yeah. And so that was written by a guy named Jeffrey Field, very good writer. And it was a co-production with the Missouri Film Fund and the Missouri Film Office. And so it was just a great process of making that movie. Obviously, we had to find a pizza place. And so I had to find one that it wasn't it was like a family-owned business.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to deal with a real, you can't, it's harder to get permission from a Pizza Hut, because
right.
Oh yeah.
So it's easier to find. I always tell people, oh, you want to film in a grocery store? Well, don't try to go through Hy-Vee. Find a mom and pop grocery store. And that's what we did with I Am Lisa, is the grocery store. And that same grocery store is going to be in Super Happy Fun Clown, because we can walk up to the owner and say, can we film here? And he can sign off on it. But if we were trying to get into a major supermarket, they're like, well, we have to contact, headquarters, and that could take a month.
They're like,
you have to be kind of strategic in that sort of thing.
You got to get the Noid on the phone if you want to film at Domino's.
Yeah.
No one wants that. That guy's very ornery. But yeah, I if you guys, Tony and Angel, I recommend you guys check out I Am
Yeah,
Lisa.
I'm gonna. I was looking through the list. I was busy running around the last couple of days.
It's a fun. I wouldn't. We obviously we have very small budget, but it's a fun movie, and I think that people
just from the werewolf standpoint of it alone, I just like how you guys did it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I have a. That's what I've been. Kevin knows this, so I had like an idea for like just like a little proof of concept treatment type deal. I wanted to shoot like like a small scale transformation type deal, but I didn't want to like go into like hokey territory.
Yeah. I mean, that's the tricky part because unless you've got Rick Baker or Rob Bottin, you're like, well, do I try to do that or do I just kind of, my idea was with I Am Lisa was to keep her human presence through the makeup. Otherwise, it's one of those things where you lose her humanity if she turns into a full-grown werewolf. So I was like, I used the movie Wolf with Jack Nicholson as kind of an example of that because I was like, well, it worked for that movie. Why can't it for us?
And that's what I was saying in my head.
It's funny because like 50% of the fans of I Am Lisa, 50% of the people who've seen I Am Lisa were pissed off because they wanted to see a full werewolf transformation. And I'm like, if I did that, then
and you would have been pissed off.
Everybody would have been pissed off.
Yeah.
So it's like I was.
And that's what one of my buddies who's on the team too was like, he's like, we don't want to you don't want to like put that out there and then have everyone be like that was the worst werewolf transformation.
Oh my God.
I mean, I just remember seeing American Werewolf in Paris, and
and
again, like I
that was
the movie. It was good for its time, but the CGI was not great.
Yeah, I mean the lighting on the werewolves running through the sewer.
Yeah,
come on.
So I didn't want to do that with I Am Lisa. I didn't want to
Wolfie is saying, "I love I Am Lisa."
Aw,
there you go.
There you go.
Oh, that warms my heart.
Oh, Wolfie. Well, Wolfie is also he's a werewolf man. He loves werewolf movies, so it makes sense that he would have tracked that one down.
We're trying to make a sequel. We have a really good. Have you guys seen the movie WNUF Halloween Special?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the writer of that movie wrote the sequel to I Am Lisa.
Oh.
Jimmy George is his name, and so we've been trying to get that movie made for a while too. And it's much bigger scale, which is another reason why it's going to cost more money. And I told everybody I pitched it as it's Superman 2 because it's Lisa versus 3 female werewolves.
Okay.
So like she's taking on the 3 badass.
God and all those.
So I keep telling people it's Superman 2, and they're like, okay. The younger generation doesn't know what any of that means.
They're like Superman 2, but werewolves.
Superman 2. So yeah, we're trying to get that made, and it's just one of those things where it comes down to money and time, and but we will make it happen somehow, some way. I hope so.
That's like you said earlier, perseverance.
Yeah, that's what you got to have.
Yeah, patience and perseverance. A little bit of grit through the teeth.
Yeah, I mean, I just tell people I'm very stubborn. I mean, I again was wanted to do this at a very young age, and it was funny because when I was in high school, for whatever reason, my high school in Nebraska, a small town, had its own channel broadcasting out of the high school. It was supposed to be used for sporting events, but I didn't want to do that. So I started making these weird movies and then airing them. And if you had cable in my hometown, the channel came in. So then I started making these weird videos I was shooting on Super VHS.
Oh yeah.
And I was editing them from tape deck to tape deck. People, I explain that to people and they're like, "What are you talking about?"
What?
So and so I started airing those, and that was kind of where I got the bug because it was like I would hear people in town talking about them, not knowing I was like in that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, people are. They could have hated it for all I know, but I heard them talking about it, and so.
Well, what do they say? There's no such thing as bad publicity, or what is it? Where even
you got it.
As long as people are talking about it.
I think I would. Again, like those movies exist on a VHS tape somewhere in Nebraska.
They're on a dusty shelf somewhere.
I think my mom made sure that they have lasted, but yeah, I mean, and
that could be
I got started.
No, that's all.
that could be like a special feature on one of the on the physical releases. Like, here's a short film that I made,
and that's a whole other conversation right there. They Wait in the Dark. I mean, we went with 1091 and Screen Media with, and they normally do like physical releases, and for whatever reason, like the movie that came out right before ours had a physical media release, and then it just stopped. And I think the writing was on the wall for the company at that point, because they had bought Redbox for an extraordinary amount of money. It was like $400 million.
They bought Redbox.
They bought Redbox, and then a couple years later that they're bankrupt. So
there's a Redbox down the street from me that has a curtain on it.
Yeah, I mean, because they can't.
They all do.
Because there's no company anymore. They aren't paying to dispose of those things.
Yeah,
they are just sitting there, and it's up to the business owner to get rid of it.
Yeah,
and they'll be like these artifacts in like an antique.
Yeah, American Pickers. The American Pickers 2035, and you'll see some dude.
Let's just busting them open. Holy shit!
Yeah, I mean, I am Lisa was in there, so you could probably find a copy of it. I ended up right before I knew that they were ending Redbox. I ran out and bought for like $4 a couple physical copies out of the Redbox, because the cover art was different than the Blu-ray and DVD release that was at Walmart. So I was like, well, I could, but I don't know.
Just remember variants. So the collectors, they always go for that other variant of certain movies. So how do I know that? Because I collect.
Yeah. Do you have your own very Redbox carrying case?
Yeah. I have a lot of Redbox movies I just forgot to return.
Yeah. No, that's
after like a week, they're like, you own it. You would charge you like $29 or whatever.
Yeah, that was the thing. I was like, oh fuck it, I own it now.
Yeah, right. But that's another thing is just the physical media aspect. It's changed so much, and I used to just love owning, the movie, like a tangible disc, and now it's like you have to almost go find a different. You either have to negotiate with your distribution contract that you're keeping physical media rights, because if they're not going to do a physical media release, there's no reason to let them keep the rights for it.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that's in the contract, and you're like, okay, well then I'm going to keep the rights and go to some boutique. I mean, Terror Vision has gotten big now, and there's all these different companies.
Are they doing physical media currently?
Terror Vision is, yeah. I think they did. I think they did WNUF. I could be wrong.
It's like Terror Films, right?
Oh, Terror Films. I actually, funny enough, Terror Films. I didn't even talk about this movie with you guys because I completely forgot. And if any people involved with it are going to get mad at me. I made a found footage horror movie.
Yeah.
Called The Night Is Young, and it's like it's a lesbian vampire found footage movie.
What?
Yeah. And Terror Films is putting it out. So, and I don't know when, because we're going through the whole delivery process right now, and they're doing the quality control on it. But I made it out of frustration, which
Tell me about this frustration.
It's like
I was waiting on financing for a different project. And it fell through, and it kept falling through, and we hit SAG strikes, and we hit writers strikes, and all this stuff was happening. And finally, I was like, you know what? I got a group of people, some of the actors I've worked with in the past, and I said, let's just go out and make a found footage movie for 12 days. Well, we don't need to shoot it all in a row. Let's break it up into blocks. Yeah. And let's just commit to it and just go out and do it like the old days. And we went out and shot with Blackmagic cameras.
Shout out to Blackmagic.
Yeah, and it premiered at Popcorn Frights in Florida. Are you guys familiar with that festival?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it had its premiere there, and then we ended up signing with Terror Films, and so I liked what they did with the Hell House movies, the Hell House LLC.
There you go.
Is that Terror Vision right there that put that out?
Yeah, it is Terror Vision. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, look for that one. It's like 76 minutes long. It's a quick watch. It's just
all right. I love found footage, so that's up my alley.
We it was funny. Some of the reviews were like, it cheats, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. There's a camera. There's the camera for every single thing that happens in that movie.
So that's the thing, right? There's rules to found footage. You know what I mean?
We never break the rules. It literally, like, if it's not one of them filming, it's a security camera.
Yeah.
And so there's always a camera. I think there's a couple cell phones in there,
Yeah.
So we don't break any rules. I think that there's a moment where they don't realize there's somebody running the camera.
There's the shit like a
little. I may have a cameo in the movie. That's what I'm just saying. Like,
yeah,
my buddy. I'm not a lesbian, but I'm in the woods.
Yeah,
I gotta get out of here.
Well, I don't want to give away too much of the premise. You just have to watch it, but it's fun. And it starts off as kind of a comedy. She's vlogging her dates, and she's got all these failed dates. So the first 15 minutes of the movie is funny, and then it kind of goes off into a more of a horror direction. And it's not super gory. Obviously, we just went out, we made it, and I think we did a good job with it. And you
premiered at the Popcorn, and then it got picked up. So you did something
right.
You know what I mean? One of my buddies, Jake, he's got a film on there, The Wendigo.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I know that's how I heard of the terror films.
Yeah, and they've kind of like the Hell House movies that they've put out have done very well.
Yeah.
And the Taking of Deborah Logan, I think, was another one that they put out. That movie scared me.
Yeah. That had one of the craziest scenes where it's like the big mouth and swallows the kid. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's something different.
There's very few movies now that scare me, and that was one of them. So.
Yeah, Grandma Throat Goat right there. Tell you what.
I'll be honest with you guys. I want to make a slasher movie, really bad, and I've not gone into that subgenre, and so it's always been my favorite. I mean, there's a Jason Goes to Hell poster right behind me.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then Temple of Doom on the other side of me, so it's like it's confusing. I know, but
it aligns.
It does align, but yeah, I've always wanted to make a slasher movie, and I think I got an idea that because everything's been done to some extent.
Yes.
I just saw Hard Eyes.
Oh, what'd you think?
I liked it. But I found myself laughing more than being scared.
Yeah, I heard it was more of a comedy, rom-com.
And so it's a rom-com slasher movie, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and it seems to me like there's a lot of slasher movies now that are combining like comedy, like for instance, Happy Death Day was Groundhog Day, a slasher.
Yeah.
And then there was It's a Wonderful Knife, which was It's a Wonderful Life meets a slasher.
Yeah, which I enjoyed. That one was pretty good.
I like that one, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's I'm just trying to think of. I mean, there's all these. Freaky, that was the one where it was like the Body Switch movie, which was very fun, but it was more comedy than anything else,
Yeah.
So I would like to make a slasher movie that is a little bit more serious.
Okay.
It's possible.
More serial.
Yeah, just a little bit more there's something about the early 80s slasher movies where, specifically, Friday the 13th and where there's a tone.
Yeah. There's a tone of seriousness through it. There's real danger feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, and maybe it's one of those things where it's so hard to recapture that now because everybody's seen everything.
Yeah.
It's easier to make
a lot of the ones that are trying to do the homage to the 80s are making it campy and stuff like that. So
calling attention to the tropes, and making fun of the tropes and stuff like that. So
what did you watch what was that called? In a Violent Nature? What did you think?
I like that. I did like that a lot.
Yeah, that was one of the slasher, quote unquote, that I thought it was people were like, oh, and I'm like, it's like the video game. You know what I mean? It was cut like a video game, even approaching the cabin, and you could hear them oh, what do you mean you drank all my beer, you son of a bitch?
Exactly. It was it had that gimmick of, and I don't know if they make a sequel if they're going to be able to find a different way of doing that.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I liked it, and people kind of dogged it for its pace, but I kind of liked.
Yeah, I love that.
Kind of slow, brooding.
Yeah, I loved it. The whole fly on the wall type deal. Like we've seen the slasher come out of the lake, right?
Yeah.
Right, like jump out of the water, like and like, but we've never seen him like get in the lake from the other side.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You know what I mean? And then like have this the scene be like long and like you're looking at everything and then you just see him come out, but he's this little. Like
I've always wanted to see a slasher movie where they show the slasher like going through the trials and tribulations of getting all the bodies to fall at specific times, or like dangle, like just as the girl is running, the body falls just then, like just timing it all. You know, like he's setting them all up perfectly, and he knows when she's gonna open the door. But yeah, I mean, like again, slasher movies are my favorite genre, a subgenre of horror, and I've never even touched it.
All right,
and it's just one of those things where it's like because I think I haven't touched it because I want to do one in a way that either hasn't been done before or I haven't come up with an idea that I'm excited enough about. So
yeah. No, I mean you'll get there eventually. Something will click.
Yeah, for sure.
One of these days. Yeah. But on that note, it is past 10:00
already, bro.
Yeah, we do have to cut things off.
Oh no.
Yeah. So Patrick, where can people go to follow what's going on with you and your?
I mean, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram and I'm now on Blue Sky.
Ooh.
So just look for Patrick Rea and all those REA on all those platforms. Sometimes it's Patrick M. Rea, but look for all on those platforms. Blue Sky, I'm fairly new to.
Okay.
And then Instagram. The thing about Facebook is that you're capped at 5,000, and then you have to do like a fan page or something like
right.
that. Business page.
Patrick Rea, right? Patrick M. Rea.
Yeah, you can find me and I'm still on Twitter right now, but I'm probably going to be leaving Twitter.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
I got you. I just sent you a follow.
Great, fantastic.
Oh, it says you're followed by my buddy Zajan. You know him? He just put out. They're doing a showing of his newest movie called The Build Out.
I loved The Build Out.
Yes.
I saw it at Panic Fest last year.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah, he's. I've been following him been talking with him for years now. Ever since I saw a couple of his shorts, Great Canyon, a long time ago. Yeah. And I've just been following his whole thing. It's been awesome.
I saw he was in the audience when we watched it, and I talked to him a little bit afterwards. But it was fantastic.
Yeah, awesome dude. Fucking love that dude.
On that note, Angel,
you can check me out on Chaos Manus on Instagrams. And then this weekend, me and Kevin, not me, Kevin. We'll be at the Winter Festival, Film Festival. We'll be there. I think we're doing a panel at some point, but they'll be doing the short films and some of the feature films. I know our buddies and came from the 508 are debuting a couple of their film house stuff, and it's going to be a good time. And then
they're playing the thing for your project as well.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, Vampire Surf Cult. We have our Kickstarter is live for a few days now. We are about 50% funded. But yeah, we're trying to make a cartoon, adult humor cartoon. Yeah, so we'll be there. We'll have the trailer ripping on that huge QR code that you can or if you're listening now, we're running the campaign for like the next 26 days. So go to vampiresurfcult.com and there's a button there that says check out the Kickstarter. But yeah.
And we'll be playing the trailer for that and stuff.
Yeah, over there. And then I'll have
next week as opposed to the dead of winter because that's
and then also I'll have a short playing this Sunday over there too at the festival.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cool.
little Christmas horror.
Christmas horror.
Yeah.
Tony, what about yourself?
You can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related. You'll find me on there. Tony Has Nine Fingers on X, which I don't use, but I continue to say. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok, which is my fastest growing social media, so find me there mostly. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me. And of course, here on the Wicked Horror Show, most Tuesdays, whether we have awesome guests or it's just horror movie talk, find us here. Kevin?
Just stay knuckle on Instagram. Besides this, I'm also part of that Strange Show when that comes back. Yes. And like Angel said, come see us at Mechanics Hall this weekend, the 22nd and 23rd, in Worcester, Mass, at Dead of Winter. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching / listening. And goodbye. 1 second, guys.